Hi guys, so I recently released a KPACK for KITOPS containing some interesting Nixie tube and 7-segment display inserts. As you can see, I already have it installed here, and I just wanted to make a quick video to explain to you guys how to set it up to ensure that they render properly, as well as to explain how to change the digits and animate it and that sort of thing. So I'm just going to jump in here. I'm going to insert one of these over here, and as you can see, there's two different types of Nixie tubes in here. I might add more later. The one is a sort of submerged, sunken in globe type one, horizontal display, and the other one is the more classic vertical type Nixie tube. So I'll place one at the top here. Let's just get the scaling good. Okay, and then I'm going to switch to rendered view, and you'll notice that you can't see anything. And that is because the way the glass material works, and by the way, shout out to Chip Walters, who's the developer of the KITOPS add-on for his amazing glass material. You can check it out on his Gumroad and YouTube channel. He's got it all on there. I believe it's a free download actually, and it's fantastic, especially if you're working with Eevee, as this is specifically optimized for Eevee. Okay, so inside your render settings under Eevee, you need to switch on screen space reflections, and then under that you need to switch on refraction. See, the second I switch that on, you can suddenly see the digits here. I'm just going to make one or two tweaks here, just personal preference, and I'm going to switch on bloom. I think it looks quite nice with these digits, but as you can see, this actually looks quite nice now. I think let's just quickly add a material here, or tweak this one so we got something a bit more interesting, make it a nice dark material. It's going to reflect nicely, maybe add a little bit of roughness, maybe add a bit of metallic, and we can do now, we can bake the indirect lighting, and it's not that interesting, and the reason for that is we actually need something like an HDRI, something to reflect on the glass to really get the best out of the glass material. So if we just go to our world settings here, I'm using Node Wrangler, so I can just press Ctrl-T. It adds a material mapping node, or a texture mapping node rather. I'm going to open it up, and I've got some go-tos that I always use. If I switch to rendered view, you can actually see the background. Just going to rotate it around so we get the direct sunlight on these materials. Yeah, that's better. Okay, and then if we bake it, you see you got some nice reflections. I think I'm going to actually just tweak this down a little bit, rebake that. So yeah, now we've got a nice combination of the glow from the filament and the reflections from the environment around it. As you can see, it's real time, thanks to Eevee. Works perfectly. The next thing I wanted to show you guys is how to change the digit that's shown on the Nixie tube. So if we click on one and we go to item, down to properties, you'll notice it has a custom property here called active digit. And if you adjust this, it'll display whatever integer value is shown over here. It'll highlight that filament. What's quite cool about these is these filaments are actually packed in the depth of the tube. So as you animate it, you can actually see it jumps forwards and backwards, and as it highlights the correct filament. The order of these is also authentic to how Nixie tubes were actually built. I'm not sure actually if there's a specific reason for the order. I'm sure there must be. But yeah, to be honest, I just worked from some schematics for these. As you can notice as well, the numbers loop around. So once you go past 9, you're back to 0. And I did this so that if you animate it with something like a driver that just runs off the the frame number, it'll just keep going. So you can increment it. If you had 2 of these in here, you can just have the one increment, say, 10 times slower than the other one, and that can then be your tens increment, and the other one your ones increment. I'll also show you guys how to change the base number, so that, say you want to build a counter for minutes, you can set it so that it ticks over. It's 6. It goes from say 59 directly over to 00 as a clock would. Okay, so this works for any of these. You just select it, increment it. In the pack, I also have the 7-segment displays. These were actually made as almost an experiment in developing the technique I used for these. So I've just thrown them into the pack. But I think they could work really well for something like a countdown timer and a bomb, or, just, I don't know, I'm sure you guys can use your imagination. Yeah, if we add one of these, oh, that's really big. Let's just try again. There we go, that's much better. So let's add 1 or 2 of these. Okay, so as you can see, these have a digit that you can increase and decrease. And it also works the same as the Nixie tubes. You can loop around, you can animate them. But these also have a period sign there, and you can toggle that on or off independently from the other ones. Now, something you'll notice, if you look inside the KPACK, I've actually included 0 to 9 of each of these 3 sets. And the reason for that, besides just making it easy if you have a static image and you're not going to faff with the custom property, you just want to drag in a 1 or 2 tubes and have them sit on a static image. There's a peculiarity that cropped up when I was developing these for in terms of how KITOPS actually implements the materials. And what I mean by that is, if you add 2 of these in a row, I believe this was a 0, yeah, it was a 0. So if we select a 0 again, and I add another one, you'll notice it's actually showing a 6. And that is because when KITOP inserts a new insert, it actually tends to share the old materials if they already exist. If you have materials that are named the exact same thing, if we actually go inside here, you'll notice it's got the light part here. If I select that and I go down to my material settings, you'll see I've got cat v0, it's for cathode, cathode vertical 0. And that's the exact same material as that's being shared between them. It doesn't duplicate it when you add a new one, which is a bit of a problem with the drivers that I use to power this increment. So what I've done, there's a number of workarounds around it, but if you're, say, building a clock, it's quite important just to make sure if you add in more than one of these that you want to animate separately, just add separate ones. So go 0, 1, 2, 3 or whatever. Just make sure it's a separate one, because I've actually I've ensured that the materials are differently named between the individual inserts in here. And that way you can actually go in and say you want to animate this one. We'll just do frame divide by, say, 10. And we'll do this one, say, frame, just frame. Yeah, let's see what it does. And if we play, yeah, you can see the one on the right is running from 0 to 9. It's maybe a bit fast, and the one on the left is incrementing and looping past. Let's make this actually a little bit slow. We'll do divide by 2, and we'll make this 20. It works well if it's a factor of 10 out. Then it's naturally going to loop around naturally, and that works perfectly. So if you design a clock or something like that you want to use these and you want to animate it, just make sure you use different instances. The other option I'll quickly show you. If you do go into one of these inserts, and all you really want to do is want to check what the name is, right? So for this one, which is the 0, I actually have 0 in the material name. If we go down to the next one, which was, and we go down to one of these light components, and we just check, and then you can see it's cat for cathode vertical 1, right? So now, say we need more than 10 of these Nixie tubes. What you can do, you can hit Control F2, which brings up the battery name. You can also, I believe, reach it over here, battery name. And what we're going to do, we're going to select materials, we're going to select all, we're going to do find and replace, and we're going to search for what's it called, cat V1. We're going to search for V1 and just replace it with bacon. And we do that for all of them. Now you can see it's called cat bacon 0. I'm just going to select one of these again. And now this was number 1 when we initially inserted it. I'm just going to go ahead and insert that again. And as you can see, it works perfectly now because there's no duplication of the materials. We can actually go in here. We can toggle it independently. So if you need more than 10, that's something you can do. I wish there was a way to make this work a bit more intuitively and a bit easier, but yeah, it's just something to keep in mind if you are animating it. Another thing that might be something you want to do, you want to change the base increment. So say we want this one to tick over the second it hits, say 59 between these two or something like that. Or let's change this one, it's already set up to animate. And this is a bit more effort than I wish it was, but you can just go in here. If you select yet again one of these light components, you just want you want that cat bacon material. And if we go into the node editor object, you'll notice all of these, all the light emitting materials in the Nixie tube, they actually share a similar material with a common node. You actually need to go in and you can change it over here. So we can actually change the color, and it shares it across all of them. So it doesn't matter if you end up, say, changing the increment on it, it'll just adjust accordingly. So if we play, you can see that. So you can even do different colors should you want to, and if you don't care too much about the exact historical accuracy of your Nixie tubes, because you know, neon is, I think, traditionally used, and neon is orange when it's ionized like that. What you can do in here, you'll notice I've got a modulo math operator in here. You can change that from base 10 to base 6, and now when we animate, that one just goes. It just goes 0 to 6, but I changed the wrong one, so got it here. We can change it. We can also change the color to, say, blue, and we make that a 6. So now you'll notice when we play 5, and it goes back to 0 because it goes to 59 and clocks over. So that'll be helpful if you're building an animated clock. Then I think that covers everything.